reiterated that he does not think Trump can defeat President Biden in 24 either, Eric.
Well, it's certainly spirited. Alexander, thank you.
Sure.
Arthel?
All right, Eric and Alexandra, for more on this right now, we are joined by Lauren Wright, Princeton University political scientist. Hey, Lauren, if we could, can I play a little hopscotch with you? So I'll kind of go all over the place,
Okay.
starting with this. All right, good. Trump came out swinging. He's jabbing DeSantis with specifics about what Trump sees as DeSantis' failures in governing our policy. So when will DeSantis and other GOP hopefuls start jabbing at Trump's failures or weaknesses?
I mean, that's an excellent question. If we think about the polling heading into the first Republican debate in 2016, the situation was very similar. Trump was ahead. I think he was about 45% at that point. Ted Cruz had 20-something. Kasich had double digits. And it was simply too little, too late by the time candidates started attacking Trump. And specifically for DeSantis, he needs to do that on policy. I think there's this impression that GOP voters love Trump because of his policy stances, but a lot of those stances and record items sort of counter traditional Republican values. So there's space for that. Mm-hmm. That's not just personality-based, which is what Christie's doing. That's policy-based, and maybe that's what DeSantis needs to do.
Now, what do you think of the restrictive GOP debate requirements precluding perhaps viable candidates from making their case for the people before the people?
I mean, I think the field is just so large that part of the concerns are logistical, and you probably know the ins and outs of it better than I do, Arthel, because Fox is hosting the first GOP debate on August 23rd. And so I think part of that is how do you fit what looks like it could approach 20 people on a stage again, but you're absolutely right. Some of those polling thresholds are tough.
What about over a course of a couple of days?
Yeah, I think that's what we did last time, if I recall. And there were complaints from some of the undercard candidates. But yes, every candidate should have a chance to send their message. And sometimes polling cutoffs are very harsh.
Okay. What is your take then on the loyalty pledge required by all GOP candidates to swear to support the nominee, regardless of who that becomes?
I think Trump makes that very, very difficult for the Republican field. So Chris Christie probably wouldn't take that pledge. I'd be really surprised. DeSantis, maybe he would, because he's playing this middle ground still, trying to get Trump supporters while also trying to distinguish himself. But if Trump were not in the picture, I think it's a foregone conclusion since he is in the picture. And since there's so much more material his opponents can lob against him since the last time we went through this, I don't think you're going to see every hand go up. But the question will probably be asked.
Yeah, well, Trump is the clear front runner. According to a Real Clear Politics average of polls, Trump currently has 52.4%, DeSantis at 21.5%. Now, Casey DeSantis is stepping forward on the campaign trail for her husband. Why are they pulling out the secret weapon? And can Ron DeSantis beat Trump? What will it take for him to do that?
I mean, I'm glad you mentioned the national polling averages, because despite what DeSantis is saying about his team on the ground in Iowa, and yes, that's critically important, national polling averages are more informative. The nature of individual polls is they're idiosyncratic. And you're right, these numbers have been somewhat steady for the last few months. Casey DeSantis, and you know, Arthel, I write and research and wrote a book about First Ladies, is more than a secret weapon. It's just common sense. If you have a spouse that is willing to do the work, that is willing to travel, they do so much more for candidates than allow them to be in more than one place at once. They can highlight deficiencies, they can close gaps. And so, yes, she's absolutely an asset, and any smart campaign would deploy a spouse if they have a chance.
And especially if they need to get the attention of women voters. Let's move on because, again, we'll talk about Trump. He's the clear runaway train of fundraising. So can he stay on track all the way back to the White House, or could his legal troubles and indictments derail his return to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue?
They could cause more trouble, but not enough to close the 30 percentage point gap that we see between Trump and DeSantis right now. My guess is it's too late for that gap to sort of get down to nothing. We've seen a very serious federal indictment at this point. And, really since April, Trump has been in the 50s and DeSantis has been in the 20s. And so we might be more likely to see those numbers remain steady no matter what individual events happen on the campaign trail or in Trump's legal world, than for them to change drastically. They might change slightly because people will have to drop out of this huge field between now and primary season.
A quick 20 seconds left here. So what's President Biden's strategy for re-election? Can he rest or rely on his record, let the Republicans cannibalize themselves and just wait to re-sign the lease on the White House?
He's probably going to try. I mean, the best option for Biden would be for Trump to be the nominee. That's the easiest playbook. He has plenty to work with. He did it last time. And he can rely on the memories of voters of a chaotic time in the Trump White House. If for some reason Trump isn't, things get much more difficult for Biden. He'll be taken to task on his COVID record. He'll be taken to task on the economy. And some of the other candidates have good answers to those questions on the GOP side.
Okay. Well, thanks for playing hopscotch. Sorry I stepped on your toes. That happens in the game of hopscotch sometimes, just a delay in audio. Lauren Wright, Princeton University. Princeton University political scientist. Thanks, Lauren. Take care. Eric?
Man, it's a long time since I played hopscotch.